Hello everyone, I'm Mango Thunderslice, and today I rolled up a big old fatty for today's conversation. Because we gotta have a talk, right? There's a lot going on right now, and what's funny is I actually tried to make this video yesterday, but I was having some audio issues. Hopefully they won't happen today, but it's good that I had those audio issues because I didn't quite know what I was talking about until today, and I had that fail-safe mechanism saying, hold up Mango, wait till you know your shit before you start talking. And you know, uh, basically this is going to be about QAnon, and it's going to be about Donald Trump and this whole evolution that we've gone through that seems to be coming to a culmination, a whole crescendo right now. And, in one sense, the QAnon narrative is falling apart even as it reaches its, zenith as far as its public acceptance. It's gone totally viral. You got all these traditional conservative people talking about this white hat revolution and taking down of the cabal and stuff like this. So, in a major sense, the QAnon phenomenon has been revolutionary in the noosphere, the blogosphere, right? The world of information, right? And it's been really interesting to see all the different reactions that people have had to it. Right now, we got people out there screaming that QAnon is all just an AI named Tyler, Quinn Michaels, or as I like to call him, Lord Chatbot, or Darth Chatbot. Basically just making up stories and telling stories to those who don't know anything about technology or computers. But anyway, again, this isn't just to talk shit on people who are lying, like Jason Goodman, or Lift the Veil with Nathan Slopeman or whatever his name is, right? There's all these shills out there. There's all this astroturfing of people pretending to be these, oh, I'm just a humble conspiracy guy, and oh, here's just my opinion. But see, and what all this has demonstrated to me, this whole process is that, really though, there's a sound of truth, right? And there's the ping of truth, and there's the thud of a lie, right? And you can hear it in someone's voice if you're of a certain vibration. If you're brain dead and strung out on opiates and cheeseburgers, I doubt you're not going to feel anything as far as vibrations goes from other people. You're just going to hear the words, and you've only got half your brain, whether it's left or right is inconsequential. You're only using half your brain to digest that information, right? And that is the state of slavery that basically humankind is kept in. And it's been very exciting to see this whole transition in one sense, with people coming out and grasping onto the truth and answering these questions and asking more questions and evolving themselves and beginning that journey, that adventure of self-discovery of the truth, right? Which the truth is not, oh, the Illuminati control the world. The truth is not, oh, it's reptilians. And the truth is not, oh, it's robots. Right? The truth is so much simpler and so much more profound than almost anybody could possibly imagine. And this is, I'm not going to get all metaphysical and philosophical on you right now, at least not more than I usually do. And the major aspect of what I'm talking about, I'm not ready to tell you guys, but I will soon, probably sometime this spring or summer, but we'll leave that as it may. The point is that Trump and QAnon and basically this whole white hat phenomenon in the intelligence agencies, a lot of people are conditioned in their old way of thinking, right? They're used to believing and knowing in their heart of hearts that basically, the world is controlled by the Khazarian mafia, the world is controlled by the Jews, and all this stuff. And, it's like, part of this whole QAnon process has been showing people that, yeah, there actually has been a worldwide conspiracy. And, a lot of the people who have participated in that claim to be of the Jewish faith. I would argue that they're not. They're Satanists. And I think the true Orthodox Jews would completely agree with that assessment. And, that there's all this scapegoat. And again, it's all by dividing the mind, right? You've got to divide the mind and divide the psyche to control a person. Because when I can see you with both my eyes, when I can see you with both my hemispheres, right, there's nothing you can hide from me, right? I see everything. And, just similarly, people can see things about me, right? I show you, my true self, and that's, why I think I get good responses from people, on the internet and in the real world. But, I guess just getting into it, let's just start with Trump and the whole shithole thing, because that's just a perfect example of it, right? Let me just light my joint. See, even my left brain can keep on running. That's what this plant is beautiful for, letting the two hemispheres talk to each other. So Trump supposedly calls a couple countries shitholes in a meeting with some congressional people, Senator Dick Durbin and Lindsey Graham, paragons of moral virtue, right? And, you know, says something to what they say is, Trump, we're not going to let these people from these shithole countries come to the United States. And, you know, whether or not he made that comment, I actually could see him making a comment like that to them just to get their reaction and have them run that out into the media. Now, why would Trump do that? Why would Trump purposely create a scandal, right? Purposely create a show, right? You know, that makes him look bad? Well, perhaps he has nothing to lose from that scenario, and perhaps that distraction is serves an ulterior motive, right? Jingle the keys, jingle the keys, jingle the keys. I'll tell you what, if I wanted to capture, if I'm a hunter, right, and I want to capture my prey, right, how best to do that, right? How do I achieve this goal without my prey knowing or seeing it coming, or at least, you know, the mass of people freaking out at such an action? Well, you have to create a distraction, right? You've got to distract the prey long enough for the trap to be encircled around them. And a lot of people of the super conspiracy world, they think, I guess that's kind of what QAnon has been doing for us, as QAnon's this all just a great AI distraction while they move in the Jewish control grid around us, right? And, you know, I think that, you know, going back to the ping of truth and the thud of a lie, you know, I was saying that, you know, a few people on YouTube are really clear of the thud of the lie. Jason Goodman, Quinn Michaels, Lift the Veil, right, of Nathan Slopeman or whatever his name is. You know, but then there's other guys who out there who I can clearly hear that they're speaking the truth and they're just trying to do their thing and be a good person, right? Like I guess most of us are trying to be. And one of those guys who I want to give shout out to and credit to is Defengo, right? And he streamed a video, what was it, a couple days ago, maybe almost a week ago, talking about, you know, it was called The Storm is Here, QAnon. And he basically goes and shows the Cicada 3301 puzzle, which he's been involved with for years, and how there's a lot of precursors within the Cicada 3301 puzzle that, you know, which lasted several years and several iterations, how it was kind of the prelude to the QAnon phenomenon, right? And you know, in one sense, this completely destroys the AI created it all, you know, bullshit, bogus theory. Because this has been going on for several years, and there were even physical objects dropped off at all these locations all around the world, you know, at the same time. So, you know, if this is some private, just, you know, puzzle group, right? Some Mensa took some LSD, and now they're like going around the world and tripping everybody out with this like cryptography puzzle, right? So maybe it's that, but more realistically, this Cicada 3301 puzzle was basically a recruitment tool by some of the Secret Service, the intelligence agencies, right? And it kept on going. It's basically just solving puzzles, but it involved a lot of themes, and it seemed to be leading towards this great, grand, you know, conclusion or revelation, this journey of exploration, right? They had this book, the Liber Primus, and it's got all these runes, and you translate them, and it's this whole cryptic message. And the Cicada 3301 puzzle basically went from 2012, and then in 2013, 2014, and then I guess they're it kind of stopped, but then basically right before, we're leading up into 2017, basically there were a lot of really cryptic messages, you know, some of which even seemed to allude to the WikiLeaks dumps of mid 2016 or 2016. We're talking about here, the election year. It all flows together since this whole election happened, right? So 2016, basically, Cicada alludes to the coming out of the WikiLeaks drop, right? WikiLeaks drop comes out, you know, and we're all familiar with the story. Basically, Podesta-gate, Pizzagate, right? Everything came out, and you know, it led to this whole, you know, counter coup election of Donald Trump, right? They were gonna try and steal the election for Hillary Clinton. Of course they were. They try and steal every election. Let's kick the bullshit here. They were gonna try and steal it like they always do. But then Trump started talking about, you know, they're trying to, you know, rig the election. It's all a rigged system, folks, right? And so, you know, it's so clear that Trump has never been an outsider. He's an outsider to the cabal, right? But he's not an outsider from the imperial structure, right? He has friends in high places, and you know, one of the things Q kept saying again, Godfather 3, right? And Godfather 3, I'm not big into the Godfather series, but you know, supposedly Godfather 3 is when Michael Corleone, who's involved with the, you know, the mafia, basically tries to take his business legit and tries to get out of it, right? And maybe that's Trump, right? Maybe he was ensconced within this Khazarian mafia. He saw too much. He saw some evil shit, some kids in a pentacle or something, you know, some weird, high-profile people all dressed up in masks type shit, eyes wide shut. Who knows? And he had epiphany. But you know, this is my speculation based on my my analysis based on what I've seen, based on what this man has said, and again, not just listening to the words that Trump is saying, but listening to the way he says it. Again, you can hear truth, you can hear a lie. They make different sounds, okay? If you are dead inside, you can't hear it. I'm not dead inside, I can hear it. And you know, plenty of you guys who are watching this, you can hear it too, and that's probably why you like listening to these videos. Hope the audio is good. There's all these crazy sounds out here. But anyway, so Vegas things happen. Vegas thing happens, right? October 1st. And, you know, it's interesting. This is back in the news. I guess Prince Alwaleed bin Talal refused his $6 billion ransom. And now he's been moved from the Ritz-Carlton to a maximum security prison in Saudi Arabia. You know, and, you know, it was interesting on Defango's video. There's somebody who's like, oh, once this QAnon, came out, everybody stopped talking about, Las Vegas. It's like, wait, what? Q was the one who basically pointed out that freaking Alwaleed bin Talal was the owner of the Four Seasons, the top floors of the Mandalay Bay. He was the one who pointed out, you know, all these connections that showed us, opened our eyes to what, Las Vegas really was. I mean, intuitively, energetically, yeah, I could tell right from the get-go that this was something not what it seems, and something very bad, but not just a lone gunman, right? And there was something else going on. But I didn't know what. How can anybody know until they've seen the evidence? But, you know, it was Q that helped us put this picture together that showed basically this was most likely, I mean, do I have certainty? Was I a part of it? No. But most likely this was actually an assassination attempt on the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, who was in Vegas, dressed up like a schmo, right? Just walking around in the Tropicana. And there's very convincing photo evidence showing that he was there. And when this plot to assassinate him was discovered, they whisked him out. And there's this photo of this guy walking out of the Tropicana, and he's just dressed in a t-shirt and some shorts, and he's just like being surrounded by all these armed guards, right? And they're like, everybody, they're like, get in, everybody out of the way, right? This was Mohammed bin Salman, most likely, right? And some of the other Saudi royals were going to try and kill him. They were going to try and assassinate him in Vegas, because they thought that he was in the Four Seasons. And of course, Stephen Paddock was right below that, right? Technically in the Mandalay Bay. And they were going to go up and basically take out the Crown Prince. But the Crown Prince wasn't there. He was at the Tropicana. And, I guess at some point, supposedly as the story goes, Trump's people, the FBI, supposedly the FBI or the CIA deep state were selling guns to, Stephen Paddock was an asset of, CIA most likely, right? He was selling guns to these Saudis who were going to use it to take out the crown prince, right? So all of a sudden the plot's getting foiled, right? All of a sudden, feds are moving in to shut it down, right? And basically these Saudi assassins take out, Paddock and basically start firing on the people and create this whole diversion. Everything that happened that we saw under this scenario was basically just a big diversion from what was supposed to be an assassination attempt. It was funny because I remember speculating back when it happened. I was like, what if this was like an Ocean's 11 type thing, right? As fucked up as that is, it's like, what if something bigger was going on and this was just a cover for it? Who knows? Who knows? But what I know is that the official story is bullshit. Again, it's just like with 9/11. Like when a story is just so, like, utterly falsifiable and absurd, there's no point in entertaining it unless your only goal is just to fit into this, fake matrix social society. And I've been at war with that since I was 7 years old, so I don't really care about that, in case you hadn't noticed. So Vegas happens as basically a botched attempt at assassinating the Saudi crown prince by competitors within the Saudi royal family. A few days later, a couple weeks later, we basically, the Q-Anon phenomenon comes out, right? And it's funny, I remember I was even watching this Tom Hanks movie that came out. It's called a Hologram for the King, right? And it's just Tom Hanks, and he's like a tech executive guy who goes to Saudi Arabia. It's an all right movie, but it was just kind of, there were interesting themes about, Saudi Arabia modernizing itself, like in the movie, and I was just, oh, that's interesting. I've never been to Saudi Arabia, I don't know what it looks like, but it was a cool movie. Anyway, point is, I wake up next morning and the Saudi purge is happening, right? Mohammed bin Salman's basically like, purging the whole royal family, and the successors to the crown, who, if the crown prince had been assassinated, they got blown out of the helicopter, right? They got blown out of the sky while trying to escape. So they were taken out. Mohammed bin Salman, who was an accessory to this, who again hates Trump, right, is also co-owner of Twitter, right? He basically gets rounded up, and again, he's writing the news. It's all such perfect timing, and again, this is the storm. The fake news is out there at the same time as the real news, so that everybody can get what they want, right? The twits in a Twitter, right? The fluttering liberals basically can all basically just freak out about the shithole gate, and meanwhile, the real news is coming out in spades, right? There's people like. The first indictments were just handed down against Uranium 1, and again, this is like the first of 9,000 sealed indictments. Do you have, if we're starting with this is like at the end of V for Vendetta, and he knocks down the first domino, and then right, V, right? Codename V, codename Q, right? Or as Defanga was pointing out, there was Z, codename Z before there was codename Q. And you can just call me Codename Mango, but because we're all operatives in this great theater, right? All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. And again, I just have to give props to Mr. Trump for knowing how to play the media so well, play them like a Stradivarius violin, right? And keep everybody entertained while the real work is done. Again, even it really takes a stable genius to achieve such a thing, I will say. And so here's the deal. There's always been a faction of white hats in the United States government. In fact, one might argue that a majority of people within the United States government, by sheer quantity of employees, they genuinely in their heart want to do right, and it's only through the process of trying to climb the ladder of power that people become sociopaths, or rather the sociopaths really, hit their stride. But so there's always been people in the government who are trying to do good, and I still consider myself an anarchist, an anarcho-capitalist, right? A voluntarist, whatever you will. But I remember the best rebuttal anybody ever gave me against my whole anarchist philosophy was, dude, there is no government. It's all just people. And that just blew me away. I had to really think about it for months afterward, but that was the only thing that basically somebody said to me. I was like, you know what, dude? You're right. Like, It's all just people. There is no government, right? It's all illusions, all these names. There's no Cicada 3301. That's a name. There's no Mango Thunderslice. That's just a name. I'm the person. This body and who's inhabiting it. This is real. Okay. There's no Department of Justice. There's no FBI, right? They're all just names, and it's all just people, right? And when you understand people, right, he who controls himself will control the world, right? And that is one of the most powerful maxims that anybody can possibly absorb, right? He who controls himself controls the world. That if you do not control yourself, you are destined to be controlled by others. And why anarchy can only exist, freedom, liberty can only exist when people are virtuous. And I think it's what the pirates among us miss, who think that they can just be kind of degenerate and just sleep around and fuck people over and steal shit. I think that that's where they go and commit a grievous error, because we are necessarily slaves if we can't rule ourselves, right? And that's why government exists, because we aren't yet ready. And I wish that we were. I hope that we can get there. I know that I am. I can only speak for myself. You know, I'm a redhead, all right? I'm a ginger ninja. I've been able to govern myself, you know, for a long time. You know, I won't discard the role that, you know, my parents played in developing good values within me, but I also give credit to myself for being able to leave the house, for example, and go on my own journey and not be afraid, right? And I've learned lessons, and I've seen things that, you know, you would think I'm schizophrenic. You wouldn't believe me if I told you. And again, maybe we'll get to those. And you know, you've already know I've seen a UFO. You already know I've changed the weather with Orgonite, and you know, but still, I haven't told you the craziest stories yet, guys. You know. But the point is that there's a transformation happening on this planet, and there are time cycles within time cycles. And what the Maya predicted was a very real thing, based not just on Nostradamus type prediction, but on a knowledge of the circular and spiral flow of energy in the cosmos, about repeating cycles, repeating frames of reference, right? We're evolving, right? It's a spiral, it's going somewhere, but it's still, a spiral looked at from one point of view is just a circle, right? Going around and around and around. And that's our calendar, that's our clock, right? And this is a preordained time, and you know, it's there's cosmic factors, right? The sun and this whole solar system moving into this, you know, charged part of the galaxy or what have you, people are saying. But regardless of all that, the results are the same, okay? The clock, you know, has struck 12, and basically the world is ending and beginning again. And you know, that scared a lot of people for a long time, all the doomsday things. And now we're realizing that the world that we lived in was hell. It needed to end. Like, you can't have a new world unless the old one ends. There's no such thing as just gradual evolution in that sense. One paradigm has to die, right? The son has to kill the father in the mythological cycle, you know. But you know, that's it. We've had this whole traumatic history, right? Our people have been brutalized and beaten, and I don't just mean me, the white guy, the redhead, the Irish, right? I'm talking about all of us. And you can watch my Hidden History Humanity videos to get more of my perspective on that, and you know, the whole evolution that we've been through. But the point is that there's been an entranced and ensconced priest class, right, that is known about our true history, that we are actually a spacefaring species of millions of years old, most likely, right? We are the aliens, right? We crash landed on this planet, right? And that's why there's so many different forms of us. We have so many different colors and so many different types. And if it was all just gradual evolution and we all came from the same place, we wouldn't look like this, right? We would all be the same. But it's not just food that makes me a redhead, and it's not just it's not just more melanin that makes Kobe Bryant black, right? It's different homes, right? And again, that's not to say that we're at war. We might have been at war, but again, it's all part of this cosmic drama. There's no such thing as death, right? It's all just this game that we keep playing, this dream within a dream within a dream that we keep waking up to the next version of, right? And that's what Q and Trump and basically this whole process has been showing us, is that life is but a dream, right? And that our entire world was actually a fiction. And when that world ends, it's not the end of, oh, the volcanoes go off and the continents sink into the sea. that illusion, that conception of a world dies, right? A world in the ancient, basically language was a period of time, right? There's the planet itself, right? But a world is basically a unit of time, and it's a sequence of experience in that realm, right? And in order to pass through to the next realm, we basically the next age, if you will, for the overblown terminology, right? We have to come to terms with everything that's happened in the past. The future proves the past, right? And the past proves the future, right? This is the singularity, is when we experience all points in time and space at once, right? We come into our full flowering of consciousness, and then we have, a dimensional evolution, right? We move into 5D from 4D, and you realize that you were a time traveler. You can influence anything at any time and any point simply through the will, right? And we can go to sleep at night and we can travel through time. I'm not just saying all this because I read some book by Madame Blavatsky or listen to some YouTube videos. I have explored these realms, right? I'm speaking to you with such confidence and experience, and a lack of uncertainty. Because I've been to these places. I've died several times over in my dreams. I've been to heaven. I've met the gods. Okay, I've met the grand sorcerer behind it all, and he's far more humble than people would actually believe. But it's sympathy for the devil at a certain point. It's understanding that the reason that evil exists is because humans have allowed it to exist. That we always were made in the image of God, and we are the ones who are supposed to be tending this garden, right? We were left this garden by our Father, and we wonder why he isn't taking care of it when he expressly told us, hey, this is your garden to take care of, right? I'll be back, but it's yours now. But we've been allowing it. We've been allowing it because people were afraid, and they were traumatized, and they were just, they didn't want their friends to think bad of them, their social group or whatever, they were under just the brute threat of force, the aforementioned things are, the soft power aspects of the New World. Back in the day, even a couple hundred years ago in Ireland, hey, yo, you know something about herbs and natural, childbirth, and no, you're a witch. Let's cut your head off and draw and quarter you, right? Public execution. That's what it was back in the day. Okay, so banned from Twitter. Oh, you're so oppressed. But again, just keep it in perspective, right? Again, not to minimize the current oppression, but just to keep it all in perspective, right? And there's still been a lot of people who have lost their lives. There have been a lot of martyrs in this cause, a lot of them doctors. Because again, the great conspiracy is not, just, the child pedophiles, right? And, basically, it's all just evil Jews at the top, right? The secret is that basically we have paradise. It's our birthright, and it's been taken from us systematically by this priest class, and they've hidden our identity from us. They keep us in a state of perpetual amnesia, so we accept their just storybook version of reality as truth, right? When if we could only tap in, to our internal universe, realize that in our imagination, right, a whole nation of magi, right, there's infinite potential within us to create. And the more that we tune into that, the more that we will surprise ourselves, the more that we do surprise ourselves. Yeah, you think I wasn't surprised the first time I made Organite and changed the freaking weather, right? You think I wasn't surprised, putting my hand over that pyramid, a person who was like withdrawing from opiates after college, basically put my hand over that Organite pyramid, and I could feel this beam of energy shooting up through my hand. I mean, that was miraculous, to be able to feel the life force, to know, to not just believe that there is something more going on here. And again, it's like the body, right? So in the body, there's not good cells and bad cells, right? There's stagnant energy or there's moving energy, right? Whether it's the lymph or the blood, right? Or the just interstitial fluid. If there's stagnancy, you basically have all sorts of garbage, all sorts of shit just building up, right? And eventually that will cause a critical mass, and the cells will start to dysfunction. Just like if we never took out our trash, if this was really a shithole, right? And we were all just piling trash on our neighbors' lawns, don't you think there would be a fight at some point? Don't you think there would be a consequence there, right? So the solution is to get the energy moving, right? The Energy is stagnant equals disease. Dis-ease, not ease. Energy not flowing easily, right? You want to create ease. You want to get energy flowing in the body. So that's the human scale, right? That there's no such thing as good and bad cells. There's just movement of energy, healthy flow of energy. Or there's stagnant energy that breeds shadow and darkness and death, right? And disease and decay, right? On the macro scale, right? If we do not express ourselves, if we don't actually tune into that energy, if we don't move with the flow of the universe, if we become stagnant, if we move ourselves into boxes, little boxes, and squeeze ourselves into cities and fill ourselves with poison, don't you think that there's going to be consequences to this? Don't you think that the human spirit is going to suffer as a result of being forced into a cage? Do you think that animals are the same animals when they're in the cage that they are when they're out roaming free? It's, you know, what is it? Alejandro Jodorowsky, quote by him, you know, the birds born in a cage think flying is an illness, right? And I think that's really a good quote to keep in mind when we're examining the conspiracy landscape today with all the AI conspiracies and, you know, people going apeshit over Q-Anon. You know, it's just important to realize that we're at the center of this singularity. We are the eye of the storm, right? And until you reach that center, even if you're slightly off center, right outside the center is the craziest fucking waves you've ever seen. The waves that'll make grown men 280 pounds shit their pants is how scary those waves are outside of a hurricane, right outside the eye. But inside the eye, total peace, baby, total peace all the time, right? So reach the eye of the storm. There is serenity in chaos. Seek ye the eye of the hurricane. Is the Cicada 3301 project affiliated with, you know, the white hats and the intelligence agencies? Or at least, it appears so, right? Is Q affiliated with the white hats and the intelligence agencies? It appears so. Are they connected with a whole grassroots, network, a mycelium network of hackers and just, weaponized autists, right, in the internet? That is the real force. More powerful than AI is organic intelligence gone wild, right? And organic intelligence in coherent flow going wild in the sense of uncontrolled and free and creative, right? Because that's the natural state of life, and that is what God wants. God rules this planet, not the Illuminati, contrary to popular myth, right? But again, when you are in an atheist illusionary worldview, you don't understand that nature and the energy of the universe and the will of that whole flow is more powerful than any cabal, any group of people, more powerful than me, more powerful than you. Even when we all combine, we'll never be more powerful than a giant mega flare from the sun, right? You think Kim Jong-un's got big fire, right? Wait until old Helios gets angry. And, that's the thing, is just to keep your humor and know that there's no such thing as death here. The worst thing they can do to me, what? Take me out, right? I'll just reincarnate in a new body. You'll play this game all over again, and you don't even want to see what I'd do with a fresh one, right? Because I'm already having a blast with this one, and I'm grateful for every day. I'm grateful for all of you who are listening to this, who are watching this. I got banned from Facebook, and I was ultimately wasting a lot of my time on there, but I've had a great time on YouTube. And I really appreciate it when you guys share these videos and comment back and just spread this conversation, because again, in my opinion, there's enough conspiratards out there, right? There's enough right-wingers, there's enough left-wingers, right? And there's even enough airy-fairy spiritual types who can't talk about anything political or anything real here in this physical world because it's not of the supreme spiritual vibration. Om Mani Padme Hum. It's balance. Let's fold these realities into one another. The spice must flow, right? And so it shall, right? Because as long as the humans and the living beings of this planet are performing those rites, are expressing themselves and fulfilling their function, which, is love, it's compassion, it's excitement, it's sadness, it's joy. Basically, it's the full spectrum of experience on this planet. And anything that wants to beat that or curtail that or put that in a cage or circumscribe that or you know delude that, you know, I think is objectively evil. And I think that's what that word has always meant, and I think everybody who lives in the real world knows it and has seen the face of evil knows it. It's not just ignorance. There's evil. And conversely, there's not just, you know, useful, selfish intentions. No, there's goodness in this world. There is goodness. And there's a constant struggle between those. And it doesn't necessarily always occur in a visible spectrum, but it's always occurring. And if we really want to drive this whole Q thing home to Valhalla, and we want Trump to drain the swamp, and we want to make America great again, and we want to make this planet great again, we're going to have to bring it back to center, folks. Stop waiting for QAnon to give us revelation, or anyone else for that matter. Not me, not DeFango, not Jordan Sather, who also doing fantastic work. Love that guy. Glad he's got a lot of subs. Doing great. You know, we will achieve this, right? In this century, we will have our paradise. We will be able to be proud of the world that we have given to our children and our grandchildren. I'll be damned if that's not going to happen in this century, all right? And I'm going to stick around to see it, all right? And I hope you guys will too, and I hope you join me, because it's such an exciting time, and we have so much power. And the only thing that it takes to act on that is to lose your fear and just go. Merrily, 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 just swimming down the stream, my brothers, because life is just a dream. Cheers.